Hi, I'm Rob, and in this Gems of War video, I'm going to take a look at every single status effect in the game, explain what it looks like and what it does. This is not only useful for newer players in the game, it's also handy if you're a returning player or just players in general, because the appearance of some of these things has changed a little bit in recent months. So let's go over these things in alphabetical order. So the first one up is Barrier. What it does, it protects you from one instance or turn of damage, including spells and skulls, after which the barrier is removed and the troop is back to normal. What it looks like, the troop's icon and their armor, the shield, glow and radiate and pulse with a gold shield if a barrier is active. One little thing to note, a barrier does not block lethal damage. So even if someone's got a barrier, you can still use like a Zool or a Sitharask and just kill them instantly, whether they got a barrier or not. Next up is Bleed. Bleed causes the affected troop to take up to 10 true damage per turn. This effect can stack up to a maximum of 4 times, and any stack applied after the 4th stack will reset the cumulative cleanse chance. 1 stack equals 1 true damage per turn, 2 stacks equals 3 true damage per turn, 3 stacks equals 6 true damage per turn, and 4 stacks equals 10 true damage per turn. What it looks like is that drippy blood thing over there. Blood drops will appear over the troop art, and a red heart with the number of stacks will be shown above the troop's armor. So we've got 1 stack of bleed there, look. So that means it's going to be losing 1 true damage per turn. Next up we have Blessed. Blessed cleanses the affected troop and makes it temporarily immune to all status effects, devour and mana burn. It also blocks mana drain. What it looks like, yellow rays of light will radiate from the top corner of the troop art over the whole card like that. As you can see, it's like it's bathed in a ray of sunshine. Very nice indeed. One little thing about Blessed though, if the affected troop is cursed, the effects will cancel each other out and the troop will be neither blessed or cursed any longer. Next is Burning. Burning causes the afflicted troop to take 3 damage per turn. It affects armor first and then will move into the troop's life. You can die from burning as well, so once you are down to 3 life, the next round, if you're not recovered, will kill that troop. And it looks like a burning effect on the shield or your heart symbol, and there's a more subtle effect on the bottom showing some light flames. Next is Cursed. Cursed dispels all the positive status effects from the afflicted troop and allows negative status effects to be applied regardless of any immunities the troop has. So it applies to impervious troops as well, like Arachnian Weaver and Zolgoth. Curse them and they will become like normal troops and can be affected by status effects. Cursed also reduces the chance of negative status effects being cleansed from a troop over time from 10% to a 5% cumulative chance. So as I said, impervious troops can be cursed. It's only invulnerable troops which are immune to curse. What it looks like, vertical bars of purple and blue will appear over the troop's art card, and purple spirals will kind of grow from the middle. Next we have Deathmark. Deathmark causes an afflicted troop to have a 10% chance to just die at the start of each turn. Really powerful. If you get lucky with that, it can end battles really quickly. And it looks like 2 scythe icons crossed over the troop's art. Next is Disease. Disease causes a troop to earn half the mana it normally can per turn, but if there's an unaffected troop in front that uses the same mana colours of a diseased troop, that troop gains mana as it normally would. So this troop above it, which uses the same mana colours, will collect mana like normal, but this diseased troop will gain half the usual mana. And it looks like a brown, splodgy, cloudy effect covering the whole card. Next up is Enchant. Enchanted troops gain 2 extra mana per turn until their spell is cast. And it looks like a glowy pink thing around the troop's mana icon with letters in pink sort of floating all around it at the same time. Next we have Enrage. When a troop is enraged, it does 1.5 times extra attack damage when matching skulls and ignores enemy traits. That is really important about the ignoring enemy traits. Really cool. And important to note as well is this troop that's enraged here would not actually get that bonus from the skulls, because it needs to be the one that actually applies the skull hits, which is always the top troop. And what it looks like is a red spiral thing going over the troop's art card in the middle there, and the attack symbol glows red and is lit up in red at the same time. Next we have Entangled. Entangled reduces a troop's attack to 0, which means that no skull damage can be made. Whilst entangled though, attacking boosting effects will not apply to the entangled troop. When entangle is removed, the troop's attack will return to what it was before being entangled. And it looks like those two vines crisscrossing over the troop's art card. But a thing to note is that the traits that deal damage when dealing skull damage will still trigger when entangled if a 4 or 5 Doom Skull match is made, or Uber Doom Skull. This is because Doom Skulls deal damage and the traits activate when dealing damage. Next up we have Fairy Fire. Fairy Fire gives an extra 50% incoming damage from spells on the affected troop. So this troop up top has been particularly unlucky. He's been Fairy Fired and Root Trapped at the same time. And it looks like a light green fire covering the troop's art card with dark green flames on the health stat. Next up we have Freeze. Now Freeze is very commonly misunderstood, so it's really important to understand how it works properly. This prevents any troop with the mana colours frozen from having extra turns with 4 and 5 gem matches and from any spells cast. It looks like those light blue icicles hanging down from the troop's art card, but really important to understand that it is the colours which are frozen, not the actual troop itself. So what this means is, say we were full on mana with this troop here, but we still got a 4 or 5 match on brown, for example, then we would still not get an extra turn, even though the mana went onto this troop here, and it works onto the rest of them. This troop is effectively frozen on brown, this one's effectively frozen on red, and this one's effectively frozen on brown as well, because we are frozen on red and brown. One little caveat to this I might mention are Hourglass Gems. Hourglass Gems, when matched with yellow, give an extra turn regardless of whether you're frozen or not. They effectively override Freeze. Next up is Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark causes afflicted troops to take double damage from skulls. So very powerful in skull based teams, but it is best to try and Hunter's Mark the top troops first, because obviously a troop like this afflicted by Hunter's Mark further down is not going to be affected by skulls unless you wipe out these top enemies pretty quickly. And what it looks like, a red target symbol radiates over the troop's art. Next is Lycanthropy. Lycanthropy causes an afflicted troop to have a 15% chance to transform into a random beast each turn. There's a cumulative 10% chance to recover from Lycanthropy each turn. So, for example, on the second turn, there's a 20% chance to recover from it. On the third turn, a 30% chance to recover from it, and so on. Well, it looks like a wolf's face on a full moon pulsates with purple clouds around it. Next is Poison. Poison causes the affected troop to have a 50% chance to lose 1 life every turn. This ignores armor and can do lethal damage to a troop. But it looks like poison troops have their health stat turned to green and are covered in green bubbles over the art. Next up is Reflect. Reflect causes 50% of any damage taken by the affected troop to be reflected back to the enemy who caused the damage. Reflect always does a minimum damage of 1, but it does not prevent damage from being taken to the troop with Reflect on it in the first place, but it does ping back 50% of the damage received. Reflect ends once damage has been taken, and it looks like those white curves pulsing and radiating over the troop in the direction the troop is facing. Next up is Silence. Silence prevents a troop from collecting any mana or casting any spells, and when the silence wears off, the troop returns to the same mana it had before being silenced. And it looks like the mana, the coloured circle thing, is empty and white, and the troop's art radiates with a grey sort of glow. Next up we have Stun. Stun disables all of a troop's traits until the effects wear off. And it looks like there's a line, a red line through its traits diamonds there at the bottom, and it has like that spirally effect coming out from the middle with those little star things. Next up is Submerge. Submerge troops avoid all damage effects from spells that are targeted at the whole team. For example, all troops, or damage to all, or split randomly amongst. And it looks like a rotating blue wave thing over the troops art card. So it's a very good way of avoiding damage to all troops like Queen Bee and King Gobtruffle and things like that. Next up is Web. Web reduces a troop's magic to 0, preventing that troop from gaining more magic, similar to Entangle, and will remove any magic boosting effects. So for example, this troop at the bottom here that normally does 50 damage, but its magic to 0, that will be just 3 damage. So it really is a powerful trait for reducing the power of a lot of spells. But a thing to note is, while webbed, magic boosting effects will not apply to the webbed troop, and when webbed is removed, the troop's magic will return to what it was before being webbed. And it looks like a web covering the entire troop's art. And finally we have Terror. Terror causes an afflicted troop to have a 10% chance to move down the team list by 1 at the start of each turn. Once an affected troop is in the final team spot and the Terror status is triggered, it will cause the troop to run away from the battle. Terror has a chance to cleanse at the start of each turn, similar to other negative status effects. It looks like a purple, scary, chomping, dragony face thing that opens and closes its mouth over the troop art. So there it is, there's all the status effects in the game at the moment, but note that all negative status effects can be removed by applying a cleanse. Lots of weapons, different troops do things like that, like Queen Beatrix. A 4-match, providing she's not stunned, will cleanse all allies. That's one way of doing it, and there's other ways too. Well, there's a video. If you enjoyed it, found anything useful or helpful, it'd be really cool if you bash that like and subscribe button. It really does help. But most of all, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.